Hammond's flycatchers can be a real challenge for birders. These tiny green flycatchers flit around the canopy of western forests and can leave even experienced birdwatchers scratching their heads. If you've ever struggled to tell a Hammond's from a dusky or western, you're definitely not alone. Welcome. My name is Greg and I've been watching birds for over 50 years. In this video, I'll share some tips for identifying Hammond's flycatchers, even when they're high in the trees. To make sure you're looking at an Empidonax flycatcher, check for two key features: a noticeable white or pale eye-ring and two bold wing bars on each wing. These marks are classic for Empidonax flycatchers, often called Empids, and help set them apart from other types of flycatchers. This quick tip helps you separate Empids from other flycatchers, but there's still a couple of other species out there that can cause confusion. So it's important to look at a combination of features before making your final identification. So next, we're going to clear up any confusion over those other similar species. Then we'll look at more specific ID tips to separate Hammond's flycatchers from the most similar Dusky Flycatcher. After that, we'll listen to their songs and calls. And finally, we'll look at their distribution, habitat, and seasonal status to know when to expect Hammond's flycatchers in your area. A bird that often trips up beginners is the ruby-crowned kinglet. These tiny songbirds also show a pale eye-ring and two wing bars, just like Empidonax flycatchers. But kinglets are even smaller and much more active, constantly flicking their wings and jumping from branch to branch, gleaning insects from the leaves. Hammonds are also small and actively flick their wings and tail, but they sit on a branch and sally out after flying insects and return to a perch. Look for the kinglet's thin bill, shorter tail, and the bright yellow edges on their secondary wing feathers. Hutton's Vireo is another Empid look-alike. It's stockier than a flycatcher and has a thicker hooked bill. It also has sturdy blue-gray legs and feet. You'll often find Hutton's Vireo feeding slowly and methodically in live oaks or scrubby trees, moving deliberately and singing constantly as it searches for insects. Western flycatcher is another Empid that can cause confusion. In fact, in most places in the West, Western flycatchers are much more common than other Empids, and probably the first one you'll learn. Here are some helpful differences. Look for the overall olive-green plumage and dull yellow throat. The teardrop-shaped eye-ring stands out and is colored white or yellow. In contrast, Hammond's flycatchers are a dark olive-gray color with an olive wash across the breast and a gray throat. The eye-ring is bold and white. Notably, the bill of Western flycatcher is long and wide, even bulging, compared to the short, thin bill of Hammond's. The lower mandible of Western is all bright orange, compared to the dark lower bill with pale base of Hammond's. This is best seen from directly below. Westerns prefer wetter habitats, like streamside woods and mixed forests with more light and deciduous trees, quite different from the darker, dense conifer forests where Hammonds are usually found. Once we've eliminated ruby-crowned kinglet, Hutton's Vireo, and Western flycatcher, we're left with the real challenge, telling Hammond's flycatcher from its closest relative, Dusky Flycatcher. While they are similar in plumage, shape is the key to identifying these two. So let's take a look at the subtle differences in structure and other field marks. Dusky flycatchers share a similar size and general coloration with Hammonds, often leading to confusion. Both have grayish olive upper parts, dusky breast, and often pale yellow belly, and both occur in western forests. However, subtle differences can help you tell them apart. One key difference is the bill. Hammond flycatchers have a small, narrow bill. This accentuates their larger appearing peaked head. Hammond's flycatchers have an almost entirely dark bill with just a hint of pale orange on the lower mandible. Dusky flycatchers have longer bills, also rather narrow. Dusky flycatchers have a distinctly bicolored bill with a noticeably orange or pinkish lower mandible with a small dusky tip. Another crucial feature is the primary extension, the length of the longest primary feathers beyond the tertials and secondary stack. Hammond's flycatchers have a long primary extension that sticks out noticeably from the rest of the wing's secondary stack. This long wing makes the tail look relatively shorter. Dusky flycatchers have a shorter primary extension, making their wings look more compact and the tail look relatively longer. So you've started by figuring out it's an Empidonax flycatcher with the eye rings and wing bars. Then you looked to see how long the primary extension is and checked out the bill shape and color. You're trying your best, but these Empids can still be tough to ID using just these field marks. Luckily, there's another trick you can use, and that's listening to their voices. Voice is incredibly important for separating Hammonds and Dusky flycatchers. In many cases, this may be the only way to confidently separate these look-alike species. Listen for the Hammond's flycatcher song, 3 short, sputtering phrases given with a short pause, all of which are rough or buzzy. Its call is a sharp, high-pitched pip or peat. In contrast, the Dusky flycatcher's song is more complex, a series of 3 or 4 phrases that can include both rough, burry notes and clear, whistled notes. The call is a sharp, clear whit. Here's a tip that will revolutionize your birding. Download the free Merlin Bird ID app. Not only can you study the calls and songs of Hammonds and Dusky flycatcher, but you can also use Merlin to identify birds in real time as you're out birding. Just hit record and let Merlin do the identifying. Knowing the habitat they prefer can provide additional clues in separating Hammonds and Dusky flycatchers. Hammond's flycatchers are summer residents of western coniferous forests, breeding from Alaska and Canada south into the mountains of the western United States. They are long-distance migrants, wintering in Mexico and Central America. Look for them in mature coniferous forests like Douglas fir and western hemlock, often high up, just under the canopy in dark forests. Dusky flycatchers also breed in the west, but tend to inhabit more open shrublands and forest edges, often at higher elevations than Hammond's flycatchers. Look for them in mountain scrub habitats with manzanita and other brushy vegetation, or in drier ponderosa pine forests away from the wetter coastal areas. You'll often find them foraging closer to the ground than Hammond's flycatchers. So, do you remember the key identification marks of Hammond's flycatcher? Look for the long primary extension, thin dark bill, gray throat, and that dry sputtering song or distinctive pip call. Take the Merlin app out with you when birding in western forests during the summer months. You'll gain confidence and start identifying Hammond's flycatchers in no time. One Empid we haven't talked about is willow flycatcher. The eye ring on this species is often hard to see, making them easy to confuse with wood pewees, as I discuss in this video.